My name's Joseph Bacon. I'm a commercial graduate currently at Renishaw PLC, based in Gloucestershire. And I did my degree from 2016 to 2019 at Plymouth University and came out with a first. The 3 years give you quite a varied experience in lots of different areas of marketing, like digital, international strategy, and like consumer behavior. And all of that has basically led to me ending up on a commercial role, which, despite the name, is very much like all marketing orientated. So it's focusing on product marketing, digital marketing, marcoms, strategy, and those kind of areas, which the degree's covered, but just from a B2B aspect and less business to consumer.
So yeah, the company you're working for at the moment is called Renishaw, right?
It's Renishaw, yeah.
Renishaw, okay. Are they a British company? Are they?
Yeah, they're a British company. They're founded by people who left. God damn it, Rolls-Royce. Yeah.
Oh really?
Founded by engineers from Rolls-Royce, who
I
started
thought they might be German.
based in the
That's why I pronounced it that way. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, no, they were founded by two Brits.
Very British.
They set it up in the kitchen. But the name, the origin of the name was it was a Renishaw. I think it was maybe Renishaw Electrical or something like that. It was listed as like a name you could purchase from maybe Company's House or however it was operated back then, and they took that name just because it was one of the only viable name they liked the sound of, and at the end they just shortened it in the end, so it's just Renishaw PLC.
Sure, and they're quite a big engineering company and work in kind of manufacturing and things like that. Is that kind of what you were looking to go into after uni? Was that kind of what you'd got your eyes kind of set on? Was that?
No, I think before I graduated or before I started looking for roles, I was probably firmly set on fast-moving consumer goods, because that's what majority of marketing focuses on.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the best avenue to utilize all of your skills and all of your learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what kind of made you kind of go into engineering then in the end, or take up the offer? I'm not going to pronounce the name because I'll mess it up.
Yeah, okay. So I think I applied for probably around like 17 jobs, and I started early. I think that's like the key. I think I started looking probably in September, before the final year, or during the final year, should I say, at university. I had, I think, maybe a couple of interviews. I can't remember which companies it was now, from back then. One of them was Renishaw in November, and it was one of those graduate days. So you go in, you have some practical assessment things you do, like building a bridge, things like that. Team building tests.
Makes sense.
And then a bit of a tour, and then like a long interview with a member of the marketing team and the person who was running their graduate scheme back then. And they like quizzed me on any previous like summer experience I'd had, working jobs or placements, and I think that was like the key for them. And in those kind of industries, they're always looking for anyone who knows anything about analytics or data or things like that, and especially if you had some experience. So if you'd done a placement at somewhere like Intel or some other engineering company, that would do a lot of service, because they like anything in technology or product marketing.
Sure, that makes sense. So what does you mentioned they like people that know a bit about analytics and the technical side of marketing. What does your role entail then? I know you mentioned a bit about what you do, but could you go into a bit more depth about what your role entails at the moment?
Yeah, I've just moved apartments, so now I'm in one of the businesses is basically Renishaw's comprised of about like 7 or so different businesses or business areas.
Sure.
They've got divisions and then subsidiaries and then a central function. So it's a very much a matrix organization.
Mm.
And so currently I'm working in like a business which is called Encoders, and that's just products which go into like semiconductor industries and things like that and help machines operate. And I'm in the Marcoms team that they have, so
Okay.
that's working on things you traditionally understand. So web marketing, social media, content design, and analytics. So whether it's web analytic reporting, looking at keyword research, what the competitors are doing, how looking at consumer behavior or traffic on your own website, why people are still looking at certain products you have, how they've ended up there, those kind of things.
Sure. Yeah. So you're doing quite a bit of like web analytics stuff then. So is it quite competitive in that industry? You know, and I guess it's a lot of just B2B marketing, right? Rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
who,
There's a preference for platforms like LinkedIn and maybe Twitter as an exception, but besides those, we don't traditionally work on things like Facebook and platforms like that.
yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's fair
Yeah.
enough. Cool. Okay. So I guess in this situation, COVID-19 related, how has that affected you working for a massive engineering company? How has that affected your industry as well that you're working in? I'm guessing that, most people aren't kind of that are working for the company, the engineers, for example, are probably at this point slowly going back to work and
Yeah.
start to pick up things. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So there's obviously some people who have to go in. They're doing very technical things, so they need equipment. Obviously, they can't take home,
Mm,
or it needs to be in certain like conditions. So there's obviously practices for them to go back in. And although like a lot of staff were immediately like furloughed when the COVID really got going,
mm,
they still kept manufacturing sites open and assembly sites for I think Ireland, one in Wales, and in Gloucestershire, basically so they could support the government's manufacture of ventilators and
I see.
support
Okay.
that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously people like me who can remote work or be furloughed were obviously sent home
Sure.
to either work from home and then go on furlough and then come back off
Mm.
when they can get back working.
Where are you based at the moment?
In uh, Gloucestershire.
Gloucester. Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay. So, I'm guessing that's where their headquarters is then, and you're kind of
Yeah,
based
yeah.
out
So I'm
there.
based nearby. Yeah,
Mm. Okay, cool. So yeah, no, it's interesting you say about the kind of support work that your engineering company is doing because it seems like a lot of private businesses are trying to support the effort, whether it's clothing companies that are supplying PPE or various different scenarios where lots of even local businesses trying to just um, stay open to support their local community. But it's nice to hear that such a large company is supporting quite an integral part of I guess when you talked about the ICU beds, are they called ICU beds? Is that what you said?
they're involved in the ventilator challenge.
Yeah.
The government's ventilator challenge. I think that's all finished now. They met all of the requirements they had.
Mm,
Because we have different divisions which focus on like additive manufacturing,
mm,
making those machines, using those, and then we have the other traditional types of manufacturing. So
mm,
all forms of like cutting and creating materials. So that's why obviously we're involved in it.
mm. Cool. Yeah, no, it's very, very technical stuff. I think you're the first person I've spoke to who's working in a marketing department that has such a technical product, I guess.
Yeah, that's why we have these Marcoms teams. So there's separate businesses basically which have their own different products. So we have one like machine tool, laser tools, laser calibration tools. I mean encoders now, and there's other ones like focused on like neuro and other areas, and medical, and additive manufacturing, like I said before. So each of those has to have their own Marcoms team because it's such specific products. And then subsidiaries around the world, in different places like Japan or the US, they then convert to their local language and run the campaigns we suggest, or or the way we framed it, or they run it their own localized way.
So how much of the kind of manufacturing and engineering goes on in Gloucestershire, or is it just a kind of corporate office?
All the manufacturing mainly happens here. There is a site in India for assembly of like other parts, but the majority of it is made in the UK. And obviously now there's certain rules with the US as well. If you want to be dealing in the US, you have to have a certain amount of the products made outside of places like China and other countries, and they've got certain rules on other countries they're including in that now as well. So it's beneficial sometimes to avoid things like that.
Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of things going on with trade agreements at the moment, with trying to come up with British deals internationally, and certainly the America and China are quite hot topics as well. So I'm sure we could talk about that for days.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So so before that, you mentioned that you were thinking about going into FMCGs, and I guess what do you think were the key things through going through university that has supported you in terms of now going into an engineering role? Oh, not obviously you're not an engineer, you're a marketer, but you're working in the engineering sector. Has there been any areas or things that you experienced at university that have helped you to go into the industry you're going into now, I guess?
Okay. I think the digital module, obviously that's in like year 2. I think that has some application because obviously that's just like a key area that every division and place I've worked in, they all need different parts of that, and it's good general knowledge to have, so you can keep conversation and be trained up on whatever processes they have or are developing. I think the final year is probably the most related, so having an experience of like an understanding of international marketing helps. I picked my module, the optional one of PR, and that comes up sometimes. So I redesigned some documents for like marketing launches, basically, to include like PR like requirements that hadn't been put in. And then I've also like since mentioned it with like any Marcoms plans we have as well. That includes like the little nuances I learned through the university course. So if I hadn't done that course, I wouldn't have known about editor deadlines and things like that in PR. Which I've been able to mention, and they've been included in plans. I think they're the main ones final year. Strategy as well, the strategic units. It's just they're useful to be able to come into a business like this, which is obviously like a FTSE 250 company.
Yeah. So speaking about the size of the company, so how big is the marketing department, out of interest?
Well, it's not one single marketing department. So there's a central function which mainly focuses on areas like branding. I think it wants to hold everything to account and title together, so it's all so things aren't too different or don't break like values of the company and things like that. But I think marketing's broken down in a very particular way, by the company. They break it down almost in the separate businesses they have into business development, marcoms, and what they call well, I guess it's product marketing. And between those three, that's basically the marketing mix. As we know it. So I came in with the marketing mix, and that seems like a basic concept, but obviously you just look at that, and that is all of that stuff is done. It's just broken up in a particular way.
Just different definitions and descriptions. So I did have a question. So the marketing department is kind of separated a bit into different kind of, you have the business development and the different sectors, marcoms. So do you use a marketing agency or anything like? Do you outsource any of the work, or is it all done kind of in-house?
So the different businesses, they do use social media. I think they have a company they go to, but I can't remember the name of, because I haven't really had any interactions with them, that manage a lot of I don't know, the delivery of content online, or suggestions on what they should put up. A lot of it's managed locally, or by the people who own those products, basically. But they do have some interaction with people for social media, and agencies for SEO. So where I was previously just working in another department, the central function for marketing, I was dealing a lot with this other agency with all these web reports, basically. So we've set out some KPIs, and they tell us how we're performing against them, and then I go through the reports for the different websites and say how we're doing, and what we need to do, and what we recommend based on that each month. That's the main kind of agencies we'd work with. And there is a platform we use called Marketo, which is like marketing automation software, and for emails and like website creation, things like that. And obviously there's agencies that come in to deal with that, and like train people up and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's an Adobe program.
Yeah, I haven't used it, but I've seen it in a couple of job specs, so I can tell it's actually quite a useful skill to have. Do you have, in light of kind of the things you mentioned about specific skills and some of the specific software and things that you use, do you have any advice for people looking to looking into roles similar to yours and in a similar industry? Do you have any advice for them whilst they're looking?
Okay. I think there could be some good ones. So Power BI, it gets used to various amounts. So that's like sort of a way of illustrating data and results. It's like another, I don't know, form. Is a much better illustrative form of like Excel. Looking at data. If you're really interested in data, then you should at least like do some, I don't know, online course or some free kind of learning, just so you have like, you understand it a bit, and that'll help you out, and like if you need to discuss that for a role. I think if I really wanted to go into engineering, then maybe some, I don't know, do a basic Excel course or something. But for me, I haven't needed it so far, but they offer training internally if I needed it.
Sure. Oh, that's really good.
The main ones would just be the Google suite of if you can do a free Google course, those kind of things, they're going to always be helpful, because that's just where almost all the traffic in the UK and most countries comes through. And you need to be familiar if you want to do anything in marketing, really. For the better or worse, you need to be familiar with it.
I feel like data specific skills seem to come up quite a lot, especially in marketing. I know a lot of marketing departments like to hire a lot of students that are savvy in either data, mathematics, computer science. It seems to be all kind of heading that way. So yeah, no, it's really interesting stuff. Um, okay, Joe. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and thank you for all of your advice and guidance there. And yeah, if you had any final words to graduates, then feel free to sign off.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The main thing I think I said at the start would be look for, if you can, start looking for roles when you return for the final year, if it's your third or fourth year. I think it gets quite competitive, and a lot of the jobs aren't released when you're in the final stretch of your degree. That normal period around before May.
Mm.
I don't think companies normally posting jobs then. They're probably planning for maybe summer releases or later in the year. So
Yeah.
you might be either waiting a few months to either get into a job, or however it works out. So a lot of them, you might be better off applying early.
Yeah.
I know mine I got just before I did my dissertation viva. I think in December I got
Oh,
my job confirmed.
oh,
But
yeah.
I had my interview in November, so
Mm.
that, and a lot of jobs were being listed right then. And I guess the other main thing was, I realized back then, I don't know if it will always apply, but if you look at some jobs titled commercial as well,
Mm.
a lot of the job descriptions, it turns out you actually look for them, you realize it's all product marketing and digital marketing. You're like, oh, I can do that. I've done 3 or 4 years in that. So
Oh,
um,
that's
that's
actually,
a
yeah.
big tip, because
Yeah.
and they're often they pay more,
Yeah. Ideal.
which is always good.
That is a very good tip. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's all
for
right.
sharing that. I'm sure lots of people will find that useful. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that I guess that goes back to that point about how lots of companies define marketing in different ways. So
yeah,
just not always using the keyword marketing when you're searching for jobs is probably quite a good point.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you, Joe. Appreciate your time on the call, and yeah, hopefully catch you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Ross. Cheers.